All right, the question is concerning if there was a situation where there was a blockage of veins that was separate and had nothing to do with MS. Is it available, medically speaking today, Dr. Murray, that those veins could be blocked? It could be unblocked?
It's a very interesting question, because you noticed in the Buffalo study, 25% of the people without MS had the problems in their neck. I presume none of them are going to have those operated on. The other aspect that has to be understood is it's not normal to study the neck veins. So it's very unusual to have an assessment done on patients to look at the patency of their neck veins.
If they did, though, if it was done,
yeah.
could that vascular specialist deal with the vein?
In other words, you're asking, in Canada, is such a procedure available anywhere, under any circumstances, to unblock neck veins?
Do they have to go through clinical trials and all the rest?
Do you know of circumstances where that's done?
No, I suspect, though, that to justify doing a procedure in that hospital, it would be questioned if the person had no symptoms and no problems, but was going to have surgery. You see, one of the problems with that question is that a person without any problems or symptoms, you can't make them better.
You can have cancer, though, not have any symptoms.
That's true.
My husband has prostate cancer right now. He had absolutely no symptoms.
Right, and as Dr. Murray was saying, there are quite a few people who walk around. I mean, maybe you could explain that part of it a little bit more. How can people walk around with blocked veins and still be perfectly normal, healthy?
But see, this is all new information to us. All we know is that the Buffalo study, when it looked at non-MS patients, found that about 25% of them had problems in their neck.
And there's nothing precluding currently a vascular specialist to treat those veins.
No, although you'd find they have no experience in doing it.
Okay. I have a question coming to us from Angela on Facebook. Dr. Murray, why do you think it is unethical that Dr. Zambonis' treatment is being done by neurologists now in Europe? I don't know to the extent to which they are. This is the question from Angela.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question because there are two contexts. If you look at what's developing in a number of centers, particularly the Italian centers, they're developing research protocols and studying it, so we'll get some information. What is also happening is that in some countries, in Romania and India and in Poland, people are just setting up private clinics and doing the procedure. Is it unethical? Well, it depends on two things. Whether you think that giving experimental therapy is unethical. Secondly, whether the local processes determine that it's unethical. But often private clinics set up to do all sorts of things, and if there are no legal restrictions, then there's nothing that says they can't do it. It is, for instance, around the world, you can go to places and get all sorts of very unusual therapies. The question of whether it's unethical for people to offer therapies that you think are probably useless is an open question, because they may think they're useful. You can go to the Philippines and have some very strange therapies done. You can go to Florida and get snake venom. You can go to Florida and hyperbaric oxygen therapy at great expense, in which there are clinical trials showing is of no value in MS, but you can still do it. Is it unethical for those people to do it? I think it's an open question. And it depends to some extent whether their motivation is making patients better because they believe it, or they're just trying to make money.
We have a question coming to us from Robin in Manitoba. As we know, there are children who are diagnosed with MS. Has there been any testing, any connection with CCSVI in children?
We don't have any information as yet, but in fact, a lot of the information we have about children with MS comes from Canada. And a number of us were involved in doing a study many years ago to show that, in fact, MS does occur in many people in childhood. And now, here in Toronto, there's a very good unit that assesses and is a world leader in the issues about learning about MS in children. And there's a collaboration around the world about that. But in terms of this particular question, we don't yet have any information. But in the process, as it unravels, I suspect that children will be examined for this as well.